Hey, 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 everybody. Welcome back to the second hour of the Santita Jackson Show, the special Labor Day weekend edition. I hope that you all are having a brilliant, brilliant Labor Day, and let us support labor and laborers everywhere. Everybody like and share, like and share, like and share. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. That's right. We're going to be talking about the interview. Did you see Vice President Harris, Governor Walz? What did you make of the interview? Reach out to me right here on with all of my Santita Jackson Morning Stars. Let's reach out. Let's reach out and let's talk about this because I think it's important that now that we have this interview out the way, now we're looking at the debate on September 10th. What is that going to be like? What will that be about? What are your expectations? And what did you get about her stance on the issues? Much was made about how she has changed her mind on some issues, but she did say something that I think we should pay attention to. She said, "My values have not changed." Now, how we get to where we need to go, well, I've changed my mind about that. She's seen something. She's not the same person that she was 4 years ago, everybody. You're not going to be. With each experience, hopefully you grow and you evolve. I mean, that's just how it is. So, everybody, please, 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 please like and share on the Santita Jackson Show uh, YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. The Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. And then like and share on Santita Jackson and Friends on Facebook. And then, of course, on X, I think it's called, at Santita J. Please become my friend there. And everyone share this show. And I'm giving a shout out to Luciano, who I met today. He said, "Now, let me tell you what you got to do. You got to make sure that all of your social media are locked up together. So next week, you're going to see me on Twitter. I'm going to be cooking with hot grease. I'm going to be everywhere at the same time, Ariel. Oh, yeah, Ariel. Gold, of course, executive director of the Fellowship of Reconciliation, Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds, and from the National Conference of Black Lawyers, Attorney Mark Fancher. So let me start with you, Representative Ron Reynolds, because you have run for office. You know what this is about. You know what it is to meet expectations, to fall short of them, to exceed them, and all of that. I mean, and so many people were trying to figure out just how this was going to work out. Hey, Bernadette. Hey, Andre. Hey, Robert. Everybody, thumbs up, like, and share, like and subscribe on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Please, everybody, please, thumbs up. Everybody who's watching, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. That helps us with our algorithms. We need that kind of help. I'm learning more every day. That's why you hear me talking about this. So, thumbs up, everybody. Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds, what did you think of the interview? Were you surprised at its length?
I did too, Santita. First of all, good to see everybody and happy Labor Day to everyone. We can never forget that we owe it to the labor workers for giving us minimum wage and so many protections. So I thought that the interview was a lot shorter than I anticipated. I anticipated a longer interview. So hey, I don't mind short. That's no problem there. I had more free time, but I thought that Dana Bash asked some good questions. She didn't just give her some layups and softballs. I thought she asked her some good questions. I thought that I would give Kamala Harris a B. I mean, she was very straightforward. I think that she answered the questions. I mean, the one question she didn't really give much input on was the racial identity. I think she didn't really want to. Maybe she just didn't want to give it much life, right? Like, oh, of course I'm black. I mean, like that's dumb. Like he does what he does in terms of racial politics. So I thought she could have been, a little bit more forceful, in my opinion. But maybe that was her style, not to distract from all the other things and have the interview recap be about that. But overall,
Hold on, wait a minute, because because that's something that people have picked up on. and certainly in Black Twitter and in the Black world, um, Black folks, Ariel, are real. But I'm sure, as someone who's Jewish, you understand that too. When people duck and hide, or I'm not saying that she's ducking and hiding, but when people assimilate, it kind of leaves you feeling some kind of way. I've always given her space because, the book of Ecclesiastes in the Bible says that you are your mother. And I would never ask anyone to deny their mother. I would never, ever do that. And I don't think that we should ever ask her to do that because that's not right. That's her mama. That's the person, as my mother said, I carried you in my body under my heart. You ate before I did for 10 months. And I'll never, ever forget that. She said, oh, no, no, no. And there's a blood tie with your mother. That having been said, I didn't start this fire, so I can't put it out. The one drop rule is not something that was started by me. And Walter White, who was the iconic head of the NAACP in the
Yes.
30s, he was maybe 132nd Black. No one knew that he was a Black man, nobody. And he used his whiteness as a shield
He did.
to really understand and tell the story of segregation in America. And my mother would talk about many of my father's relatives who did that. My Aunt Claire, who took my father to the University of Illinois. I mean, red hair, carrot red hair. When we would come and visit her in the hospital, people would not, they couldn't figure out why this white woman was hosting all these Black people in her room. But, I get it. I had to put that back there because that is something that, I saw it bubbling up, you know, in the Black space and social media. And I said, she's going to have to find another way to deal with that because I went to school with her, y'all, in the 80s. Nobody does this dance on race with Black folks and still stay in with Black people. Okay, when she was in school, she was Black. She was at Howard, but we also knew her mother was East Indian, and that was everybody. Black folks being mixed ain't nothing new. Okay, so but what do you think? Because I can see some people now, Representative Reynolds. That's why I had to stop you, because it hit you funny.
Yeah.
Why did it hit you funny, and how do you think she can rectify that?
Well, I think that she could have leaned in more to the nonsense that former President Trump espoused at that NMPA. That was ridiculous. It was absurd. It was outrageous. It was insulting. And I think that she was more passive about it. Maybe that's what some people call passive aggressive, but I thought it was. I thought it fell short. That's why I was. I
I
was a
think she's
little.
getting advice. I
Yeah.
think I think because you know what? When my father ran for president the second time, the first time,
Hmm.
Walt, Mark Fancher and Ariel Gold. You know what my mother said? She said, "Get ready. They're not going to let him run as a Black man.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
going to highlight your father's background." And the
Yeah.
first major article on him, if there were a cowboy and Indian fight, which side would he be on? We went to his hometown of Greenville, South Carolina. Let us now. We're going to tell you about his racial background. I was like, oh my God. I was in school. I was like, Mom, she said, they're not going to let him run as Ariel. My mother, she saw it. And that's why I want to amplify that because she said, no, 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 because you need to be white adjacent to make so many of, and you see it, Ariel, as a Jewish person. We see, the nose job at 16. I'm keeping it 100, as they say, keeping it a buck. We have all been put in this box, and it's awful. Poor Jennifer Gray, she's unrecognizable. She was a beautiful woman. She was a beautiful kid. And then she got this nose job, and she doesn't even look like a person anymore. And it broke my heart. I said, and she was in Hollywood, and she was taking. She lost her identity. She lost who she was, trying to be what she thought everybody wanted. I don't want that to happen to Kamala.
I agree, and I don't think she went that far, but I just felt she could have done more to clarify and to make it abundantly, unequivocally clear that how absurd it was for former President Trump to say that. And we've seen her be passionate about certain things. She just wasn't passionate about that. And I'm assuming, Santita, you're right, that she was probably prepped and her handlers probably advised her to not go there uh, and show the kind of emotion that she could have showed to emphasize her disgust and the insulting way that former President Trump demeaned that. Oh, she's black now. Oh, I didn't know she was black.
Yeah.
When did she become black?
Would
You know,
someone please go back and remember there was a popular model? She was a black woman, light skinned, Kara Young, who Donald Trump used to go with back in the 80s, back in the day. Oh, yes, I lived in New York. Get out of here.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm like, and that's if you notice, he continues to refer to her looks and how beautiful she is. She looks a lot like the person he used to date. Come on now, you know I got the receipts.
I love it. So that was the biggest thing for me. Like, okay, really, but I mean, she certainly was very informative about and people evolve. I mean, when you're a vice president for 4 years, I would expect your position to change based on experience from what it was when you ran for president. So you evolve, you through experiences shape your opinion. So that wasn't necessarily a flip-flop. That was her evolving and seeing things from a different perspective, right? Firsthand, practice versus theory. And so I thought that she was honest in her assessment in terms of how she's evolved on, climate and fossil fuels and immigration. I mean, she really was able to articulate succinctly how she has evolved through her position as vice president. So I thought that she was very clear. She didn't try to dance around it and deflect. I thought she could give a very honest assessment of how she's grown and evolved. And I think we'll see more of that play out in the debate on September the 10th. So I think that she did a good job of answering the question directly as opposed to being evasive and lying. I mean, you can fact check what no one can really debate about her lying like former President Trump lies when his mouth is moving. So I think that she came across as honest and earnest. She came across as confident and competent. And I think that she really gave very earnest answers. She didn't try to fluff and embellish her record. I thought that she gave very coherent, very articulate. She was, you could see that she was very competent, capable, and qualified. And I think that's what, she wanted to walk away with. I didn't expect her to come away with a home run. She didn't have a home run, but she had a good performance. I mean, not a performance, but a good answers. And I don't think she tried to put on a show, and she didn't try to do more than she needed to do. I think she did enough to quell her critics that she was not willing to do an interview because she couldn't, handle one. She proved that she could, and I thought that she didn't leave with anyone saying, "Oh, she's the best ever," or I didn't think anyone left saying, "Oh, she bombed, she tanked." I think she did what she needed to do to get to the debate stage with no carnage. She met expectations and probably exceeded expectations. And I think that she had a solid performance.
But I wonder if that's enough. As a black candidate, you've got to be superior in order to be equal. And as a woman, come on now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I mean, if Shirley Chisholm said that she thought the highest hurdle for her was being black, she said, "Oh, no, it was sexism."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she told my mother more than 40 years ago, white men will vote for a black man and will put a black man in the presidency before they'll put a white woman. My mother was
Santita,
incredulous.
Santita, let me say this though. Let
Yeah.
me say this because this is so important. I think substantively, she ran circles around what Trump does. He lies, he embellishes, he deflects, he lies some more. He then distorts and makes it plays Jedi and doesn't get pushed from reporters and journalists. So I thought that she was very competent, capable, and qualified, and she had a good demeanor. She had good, um, eye contact, and she didn't stutter. I mean, to me, she was solid. Was she stellar? Where I would say, I'm just being very honest. I mean, I'm not saying that she did anything that someone's going to say, "Oh, I want to watch that again." But she didn't. She did what she needed to do.
You
Yes, we
think she
do.
was too cautious?
I do. She thinks she was probably more cautious. I mean, certainly on the question about the racial identity and about Gaza, I think that she was very cautious on that as well. And I think she's being very careful not to offend the Jewish community nor the Palestinian community. So I think she's trying to walk a tightrope. She did that at the convention when she gave her acceptance speech. She really did a good job of trying to thread the needle as best as she could. So overall, I left there saying, "Hey, I'm still supporting her. She did a solid performance. I don't think that if you were looking for her to stumble, she didn't stumble. If you were looking for her to hit a home run, she didn't hit a home run. But she did what she needed to do to live another day, didn't drop in the polls, probably didn't get a bump in the polls, but she did what she needed to do to get to the debate performance without any kind of scars.
And I think that you're right. Ariel Gold. Yeah, I saw you nodding vigorously in assent at different
Yeah.
places. So, what did you make of last night?
I also give her a B. I think that was a good assessment that she carried herself well, but she wasn't exciting. I think she's not only walking a tightrope, but she is in a really difficult position because she is required to run on Biden's policies and in Biden's shadow. So much so, this is not even a president who stepped aside in the beginning. She's running his campaign, literally. And there was no primary for her to be a part of, for her to take the temperature of the room and shift around then. And I'm trying to think back the last time that a vice president then won an election. And I think that's Bush after Reagan. But this is, she's very much running in his shadow, and she's forced onto this tightrope where she can't criticize his policies very much, right? I mean, they're also her policies, but a vice president doesn't have any say in the making of those policies during the administration. So I would have liked to have seen her be more exciting and more. I'd like to have seen her take more risk, but I also really want to see her elected. And I think that's the goal here, is for her to survive, to compete another day. I was not surprised at the length. I expected it to be short because I don't think she wants to get to those complicated areas. I think she wants to just do the interview. I think she's going to come out swinging during a debate. I think that will be a different setting where she can really prosecute something. And I worry about the Gaza issue. I worry that it could cost her the election because
Really?
very tepid on it. Well, I worry about the Arab American vote. I worry about Michigan. People are really unhappy. And I heard a lot of people saying that she simply doubled down on Biden's policies on this, saying that she would not change a thing, that she wouldn't consider conditioning weapons. And that's not what I heard. I heard her dodge the question. And I preferred that. I was glad she dodged that question because I mean, I would have loved to hear her say, we could consider that at the time. I would have loved to see her crack the door a little bit more. And I think that would have given a crumb to the Arab American community and the young progressive Jewish community that, is really upset with her over this, upset with the Biden administration and thereby her. But I was glad to see that she dodged that question rather than doubling down, and I would hope that's acknowledged. She did not answer it. So, yeah, I give her a B. I would have liked to see her come out swinging on the race issue. I would have liked to see that fire, right? Because she's got some fire to her. And you're right, we Jews do know that. And we have an inner community, inside our community, we like to accuse people of not being Jewish enough, or if you're a patrilineal, Jew through your father, we like to accuse that. And I would have liked to see her fire come out here. Race is a social construction to begin with, and I'd like to see her just, how dare anybody question my identity? Shame on him. So let's see her do that in the debate. I hope to see her come out swinging in the debate, and I'm glad she didn't fail at all. She was enormously confident and well spoken, and that was good to see.
I'm just trying to figure this out, though. Like, are expectations too low? Because the thing is, when I was trying to figure out just how to put it, because we all know that Hillary Clinton had to be stellar. She had to be. Jesse Jackson had to. My father said, look, I have to be better than everybody. If I don't hit home runs every time I step out here, the door will be shut for 40, 60, 100 years on you. And I just don't want her, because I think the advice, I worry about the advice that she's getting, Mark Fancher. Because if you're not getting that kind of black advice, like, hey, you got to be better than everybody. So this is how you got to hit Gaza. And it's got to be surgical. It's got to be precise. And there are enough minds out here who can get her there. This is how you need to hit migration, Kamala. Boom. It needs to be surgical. It needs to be precise. And it can be a little vague. So I got to see when I get there, because I will be confronted. I am not. Senator Harris is a different animal than Vice President Harris. There's information to which I got access. I gained access as vice president, and then being adjacent to the Oval Office and getting in it. There are things I know now that I did not know. So, you know what, everybody? I'm going to evolve. My values, have they changed? No. But my mind, yes, got to change, because I see some other things and I know some other people. You can say that. Somebody just needs to just crack open the coconut and drink the milk. Come on. Really. I mean, and that's why I'm saying, just being in caution won't do it. Not particularly in this time, particularly when you're going to be Mark Fancher, you're going to be playing, this is for all the marbles, y'all. And power is not a nice game. That's not what it is. These folks, they're not going to, here, take this office. No, you're going to take it yourself. Mark Fancher, what did you make of all?
Yeah, well, before I speak specifically about Kamala Harris, I just want to talk generally about what I believe is the biggest mistake that a freedom fighter can make. If someone is a freedom fighter and they want to accomplish something, the worst mistake they can make is to become a politician. And what I mean by that is not running for office. The fact that you run for office doesn't make you a politician. What makes you a politician is when you begin to try and play the game that has been established for people who run for office. Calculating things, trying to take the temperature of certain constituencies and groups, trying to modify and adjust, trying to dance, trying to evade, trying to make all kinds of different changes in your positions based on what you think is going to get you the most votes. When you do that, you become a meaningless sort of an individual, a hunk of flesh who is running after stimuli, who's chasing all kinds of goals that can't be caught, trying to do things that ultimately will result in you really doing nothing because you're trying to live someone else's dreams, someone else's lives, trying to fulfill someone else's convictions, and they're all in contradiction, so you fail at all of it. And I think that she is at risk of doing that. From the outset, I have no real concerns about her. I'm not one of her supporters, but just looking at this as an academic question, she talks about having had positions in the past about the environment, and now saying, well, yeah, I'm fine with fracking. Having this position on Gaza and Israel, which is obviously intended to try and appeal to everybody involved. Even as to her own personal racial identity, not willing to define it and to own it, whatever it might be. And I would say, even to the point of sitting down for this interview, it was not part of her agenda to do an interview, period. But because the Trump campaign kept hammering away at it and accusing her of running away from it, and the media joining in, asking the question, why isn't she sitting for an interview? Then, in order to please people, in order to meet expectations, she sits down and does an interview, even though that wasn't something she probably contemplated doing in the first place. And the shame of it, the sad part of it is that now that she's done it, they're going to come up with something else that she is not doing that they're expecting her to do.
You mean they're going to continue to move the goalpost on her?
Exactly. Now they'll claim, well, she didn't visit this part of the country, or she didn't do this. When is she going to the border? When is she going to do this? And so what that turns the person into is a person who's very confused and frustrated and conflicted and achieves nothing. Even if she ultimately succeeds in winning the presidency, who is she at that point? What does she really stand for? What is it that she's really going to try and accomplish? Because she said all kinds of things, many of them in conflict and contradiction, and she has no clear direction forward. I always thought that the beauty of Reverend Jackson's campaign is that he never became a politician. He was a freedom fighter when he went into that. He went through it as a freedom fighter, and he emerged and remains a freedom fighter. When he goes in and he starts talking about justice for Palestinians, he doesn't go and take the temperature and try and figure out how to shape that message in a way that's going to, he says, listen, this is how I feel. This is what's right. Deal with it. And I think that people fall into not being that kind of a person when they place the end goal of achieving the office as being supreme. That should never be the supreme goal. The supreme goal is winning freedom for oppressed people. That's what you try and do. And if going through the campaign and ultimately getting the office helps get you there, great. But if the cost of being honest and true to yourself and standing firm on principles, not compromising, if the cost of that is losing an election, then lose it and come back and fight another day in another arena. We should never think that it is so important to become president, because the truth is, even though many people don't believe it, and I say it until I'm hoarse, the presidency, the Oval Office, means nothing. It counts for nothing. It carries with it no power. All that it carries is the opportunity to do the bidding of the people who do have power. And that's it. It gives you an elevated platform to say some things that might be helpful, but honestly, you can say those things and find other platforms to say those things that will expose you to a great many people. There are other ways to fight other than by seeking this office. And if the cost of it is selling your soul, then it's not worth it. Gain the world but lose your soul, it's not worth it. I would much rather have a Kamala Harris who stands firm, says, yes, I'm a Black woman, my mama was South Asian, and I stand for this, I stand for that, and if you don't like it, tough. And I think, honestly, even though it's counterintuitive, I think a candidate who approaches a race in that way attracts more people, has the potential of getting more votes than someone who comes off as being weak and waffling, indecisive, conflicted, and confused. And so, if you, that's generally my observation of her after the interview, is that I saw someone who was struggling to try and please everyone and who ultimately came out as being rather underwhelming.
Well, and the thing is, we see that, like, there's a reason that Bernie Sanders resonates so profoundly, because he stays right here. Jimmy Carter, right here. I mean, because there are a few people who come our way who stand. Shirley Chisholm, Maxine. I mean, we can look at the people who just stay right here, and that is your saving grace. Because when you play someone else's game on their rules, you lose. I can't win. I cannot outwhite a white woman. You can open the mic. You can laugh about it. It's true. I can't. She can't out-black me. What I can do, what we can do as partners, you can explain as a Jewish woman from a certain era. This is what I know, Santita, and that's what you bring to me, Ariel. And as a human being, first as a human being, that's the first thing you do. Now, let me tell you how I've experienced being human in this iteration of my life. I'm a woman, I'm Jewish, I'm this, I'm that, I'm progressive, all of that. But you play the game by your rules. Because when these people, Daryl, continue to push you into these spaces, you cannot win. Because it's not, you can't let Donald Trump from afar guide this process. Don't let him do that. Because he's not trying to help you. He's not. You need to just get him out of your head. Stop, get him out of your space. Don't even think about him. You're not running against him. You're running for the presidency. That's it. Now, I'm going to have the interview when I want to have the interview. Right now, I'm talking to the people. I'm speaking to the people right now. How about that? Yeah, no. Well, when are you going to speak to me? When I am ready. Am I supposed to leave this campaign rally to talk to you? You better take some notes. Thank you, everybody. Go on, Daryl, who just biked 110 miles a day.
Well, thank you, Santita.
Are you alive?
Yeah, I still have a pulse. I'm doing pretty good. Listening to Mark, I think Mark is 100% on the mark with some of his comments, and that is that the elected official, you don't necessarily want to be in a position where you're responding to what your opponents are requiring or requesting. You want to set your own guidelines. You want to set your own policy. You want to set what the rules are. And I would give her a solid C for her performance. But let me say this: that's all she needed to do was a C. I think that one of the things that we oftentimes do is that we're not comparing her to former President Trump's performance, right? Which is full of lies and all the other stuff. When we look at the comparison of the two candidates, she spoke in complete sentences. She spoke with complete ideas, right? So it was all there. It was all logical. It made sense. So, it's a solid C. Would I love to have seen her do more? Absolutely. But I thought her performance was solid. Now,
wait. I'm surprised that you gave her a C. I'm surprised that you gave her marks that low. Now, are you speaking as a lawyer?
I'm not speaking as a lawyer. I didn't see anything that she presented that was overwhelming. But she didn't need to present anything that was overwhelming. And I think that when it came to the fracking question, she was, that was just a horrible response that she did with it. The immigration policy, I thought was questionable. So, there are going to be some pieces there that certainly the other side is going to be able to take and run with to advertise against her. So, in terms of her overall performance, it's a C. It's a C. She did okay. She did average. But again, that's all that she needed to do. What she needed to not do was to get a D or fail. That's what she needed to not do. And when we're talking about the whole race question, or maybe the better way to put it, right now we're in the middle of the U.S. Open, right? She held serve. All right, she didn't lose ground from.
Oh, wait a minute. Your sound went out. Okay, come back. Okay.
She held serve in that she didn't lose ground. When it comes to the whole race question and the racial identity question, I'm somewhat offended that she has to answer it at all. Okay. That's something that's controlled by the press. Why are they asking Trump's question? Why are they doing this? There's other substantive issues that they can deal with. That's not a question that they should be going into. And in my world, in my belief, she's an African American woman that pledged, AKA at Howard University. That's enough. She's showing her identity. She's showing her background, her background, if you want. That's there. So there's no reason for her to have to go deeper into saying, I'm this, I'm that, I'm multiracial, or any of the other responses that are necessary. She's the epitome of it. She's there. She represents it. One of the things I was somewhat shocked by is that I expected her to do one-on-one. I didn't expect her to be with Vice President candidate Walz. I'm not certain that is. That bothered me just a little bit.
Well,
no, I wanted to see her. I wanted her to see her stand on her own legs and go ahead and do the interview.
Even though you saw
not that she needed to have.
Even though Trump was with J.D. Vance after
I wanted to see her stand on her own and do this interview. I didn't want, let them concentrate on her and let her deal with the issues. If they had questions to ask her of Walz, that would be fine. I would like to see her do this interview on her own and stand on her own. But that's just me. I don't think it did any harm. I just think that it projected more strength for her to be there by herself doing this rather than needing to have this gentleman that was there with her. So, but that's just me. I don't think it caused any scars or anything from him being there. I don't think there were any scars from the interview. There, obviously, the whole fracking thing in and out. That is what it is. Most Americans don't know what fracking is. Anyways, I don't think that's going to be a big issue. The bigger question is going to be one of dealing with the consistency of her policy and not answering fully to explain the evolution of that. She really explained the evolution of the switch in her process, the switch in her theory, the switch in her understanding, and dealing with those issues. So I think that's something that that's going to be fleshed out in time. If you don't do a lot of interviews, it's going to take the time for you to find your footing. And I think that's part of what we saw happening there was that she was finding her footing on how to respond to some of those issues. I think though that she did well. I really do. It's a C. It's a strong C that she did. She did no harm. I think that she's fine. The question now is, and I think that you and Mark were 100% on point, because the question they're going to ask now is not that when is your next interview, but when are you going to do a hostile interview? When are you going to do Fox? When are you going to do someone's going to ask you tougher questions? And the question is, will she hold her ground and say, I'll do what I do? Or is she going to respond and say, okay, I need to do a Fox interview. I need to do a hostile interview. So that's sort of where I see it occurring. Now, Santita, I'm down in Fairborn, Georgia, out here in the rural areas doing this bike ride through all these communities. And I can tell you, if Fairborn was and the signs were the temperature of the country, Vice President Harris would be in trouble, because I couldn't count. Once I got to 15, I couldn't count the more Trump signs that's all over this community. But I can tell you about the one Harris sign that I saw, and that was really something that was concerning for Georgia and the suburban and rural areas that she's going to be encountering.
See, because the corporate media are not telling the full story, and see, this being in Texas. Texas is not just Houston and Dallas and Austin, right? Like, there's a whole world beyond Chicago. You drive 20 minutes south of the Chicago city limits, there are corn. They grow corn there, honey. They don't play Shania Twain. They play Patsy Cline. They play country and western. I'm not mad at anybody because I love it all. As a musician, I love great music, and of course, I happen to pull up some of my favorites like Hank Williams and everybody. So, sue me, be angry, Bobby Gentry, Johnny Cash. I love it all. That having been said, that's Illinois too. That's America also, y'all. It really is. And the fact are these: when you are under the boot as a black person, as an Asian person, and people have gotten on her, Daryl, about because she has embraced her Asian heritage, and when she's been with Mindy Kaling was like, "You're Asian, aren't you?" And she's like, "Yeah." It's true though. It is. That's what her mama wasn't making. What, fried chicken? Well, not the kind that we're thinking about. I mean, I'm not mad at her. I mean, that's her life, and that's part of the culture. So she's gonna know how to make some mean Indian dishes because that's where she was raised. There's nothing wrong with that. And then when she went to Howard, she was like, I can blend with this. This works for me. Okay. So yeah, and Howard, yeah, because out of all the schools in the world, she chose that one for a whole lot of reasons. And there it is. But I'm concerned because I think that this is where Representative Reynolds and everyone, I'm going to ask everyone this on the panel. This is when you benefit from being in these tough spaces. I can say when I look at all you did was make Jackie Robinson stronger. Now, at the end of his life, what broke my heart is when I see him at 53, in the last few minutes of his life, he looked like he was 103. But he was strengthened by all that adversity. I mean, because that's what it does for you. And when people kind of guide you through, it hurts you. It hurts you. And if she wins the presidency, that's not. It's one thing. It's one thing to run. It's another thing to win. It's another thing to have to govern. And when they shut these doors, you don't know how these people might tell her to go get up and get some coffee. Don't you remember the Washington Post article where they're in the Oval Office? You got President Obama sitting there. Rahm Emanuel, who was his chief of staff, was cracking his knuckles. Do you remember this story? He was cracking his knuckles, and President Obama said, "Cut it out. That's irritating." They were in the middle of a meeting. Nancy Pelosi, everybody, just stop. This man gets up, puts his hands next to President Obama's ear and starts cracking his knuckles. After that, and I already had issues with him. I was done. I said, "How dare you disrespect this man this way? How dare you?" And he didn't quite know how to. All he didn't. He had no response. Because that's Ron, Representative Reynolds. When you shut these doors, that's the reality, right?
That's right.
Okay. So it's a little bit more than this interview. I think we're looking at some other things that are coming her way. So, and we want her to make it. We want her to be strong. I don't want to see her look uncomfortable like she did last night. I don't want that because I'm like, you know what? She's tough. And she's tough enough to have a tender display. And I love that about her.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't have to come up. She's not a faux man. She's a woman. And I love that. Okay? I love it. I just need to see it come out. Representative Reynolds, we have like 10 minutes left here. Boy, we dig deep on this show, but that's what I love.
I love it. No, I think here's what my takeaway was that similar to what Daryl said, he'll serve. I think that she will have the the debate style as a prosecutor, it probably fits her better, right? I think that she is prepared, or she will be prepared to bring the case to Trump. She is more, I wouldn't say more comfortable, but she's comfortable as a prosecutor in an adversarial role. A prosecutor has to cross examine, a prosecutor has to be able to articulate and make a case and be persuasive to a jury or a judge. I think that she has those skill sets. And I do believe that she will be able to be more direct with Trump as opposed to Dana Bash, where she didn't want to come across. They probably said, don't come across as an angry black woman. Just like we know that she's been held to a higher standard, she's also being judged if she seemed angry or defensive to Dana Bash, a white woman. So she probably had to walk a delicate balance. No one expects her to be delicate with Trump. He's not going to be delicate with her. And so the gloves will be off. So I'm expecting that she's going to perform, and I hate that we're using the word perform, but she's going to have a better showing to be able to articulate her vision and to really talk about the fact that he has 34 felonies, a whole bunch of moral civil lawsuits, for sexual assault and sexual misconduct. The fact that he's been the most corrupt president in our nation's history, the fact that his MAGA policies are in Project 2025, he owns it, and how they're counter to Blacks, Hispanics, Asians, Muslims, women. He's anti-LGBTQ. He's misogynist. So I think that she'll be able to take that case directly to him on national TV. And I don't think he's going to be able to handle it. She's going to be able to call out his lies in real time, where, if you remember, President Biden struggled to counterpunch and articulate a case, and he wasn't quick on his feet. And I think that we're not going to see that. So my expectation is going to be higher for her on September 10th. And I do think that she's going to perform much better in that style than she was with that CNN interview. And I'm not giving her, I'm not making an excuse for her. I think she did okay, but I think we all are in consensus that she didn't perform as well as she could have.
I think she was overmanaged.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think they told her, because I know it's happened to me, don't do this. Make sure don't. She heard a lot of don'ts, and she heard about what she's not instead of what she is. And I want her to get some people around her who will remind her of who she is, and not underscore who she is not. Because I know that there is so much to her. I want it to come out. If she's her authentic self, it's a wrap. Well, it's not a wrap because it's going to be tough now. But she'll have more of a fighting chance. Ariel Gold. I got a couple minutes for you, Ariel.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to hear some of her laugh. I like her laugh, or some of her stories, a little
No, not you.
Personality. And I want to pay a little tribute to one of the lions of progressive Judaism who just passed away, Rabbi Michael Lerner, who was the founder of.
Passed away?
Yeah, just passed away. He was the founder of Tikkun magazine, and he coined the phrase, the politics of meaning, that then the Clintons picked up. And what he said is, we don't just want these, vanilla policies and you to tell us, yeah, now you're for fracking. Okay, no surprise. We kind of knew that was going to come because the anti-fracking movement isn't as popular as it was then, and Trump's owning that. And yes, you're pivoting right on the border, and you're saying really crappy things on Gaza, whatever. We want a little politics of meaning. We want a little bit of you. And that's going to let us know that even if we don't like some of those policies that you're putting out, that there's a real person there and there's a sense of belonging, and we can own this, presidency, and we can have a say, and we can push you, because that's what we're going to do, right? We want her in office, and then we're going to push her. I want a president I can protest.
Yeah.
So that's what we were missing there, a bit of that. And sadly, that's one of the only things Trump has. It's that people feel attached to him as a personality. I mean, beside that, he's a misogynistic, racist slug of a liar, right? But that little piece he's got, and I agree, whoever these advisors are, she needs to fire them and get some that, let her be herself. And that's what energized us when Biden stepped aside, and we need more of that. These days, elections aren't won on the policies that much. They're won on the personality, and that's our country. I kind of wish it was otherwise sometimes, but here we are, and I want to see her win, and I like her personality.
Yeah,
Bring on that cackle and
and
cackle and the coconut jokes and
all that is, it's like it's part of who she is, and say it and be it, and like you said, Mark Fancher, own it. This is who I am, because the people who resonate most profoundly with us, they own it. And my heart is just a little broken right now, because I've known Rabbi Lerner for a lifetime, and I dedicate the show to him today, because we've known him institutionally, but personally, I've got a lot of wonderful people in my life from every place who I've prayed with, and who've prayed with me, who've prayed for me, and Rabbi Lerner has been one of those persons, and we love him, and we thank God for his legacy. Thank you, Rabbi Lerner. Mark Fancher?
Yeah, I don't have an investment in Kamala Harris's political career, but I do have an investment in truth. And as everyone has said, I think that we're all better served with her authenticity. If she is truthful and about who she is and what she stands for, that helps us in the sense that, let's just take, for example, the issue of Gaza. If she is on board with everything that has happened with respect to the Biden administration and its complicity in all of the killing, and she needs to come forward and say that helps us all. Because then we all know this is who we're, it avoids having so many people distracted and deceived into believing that maybe there's some hope with her. Maybe she's going to be different. It helps us to move more quickly toward alternatives, saying obviously she is not the one that we're looking to achieve justice for Palestinians. Let's move on. Let's find some alternative way of organizing for them, of trying to fight for them, because obviously she's not the one. If, on the other hand, she does firmly reject all that has happened with respect to the massacre, and she wants to go in a totally different way, she needs to come forward and say that too, because that also helps to inform us. Somebody like me, who has rejected her out of hand because of my presumption that she is part of the Zionist problem. Maybe if she came forward and rejected that clearly, then maybe even I would get on board the Kamala Harris train. But I can't do that if I'm not dealing with an authentic person. Mm-hmm. And I think that she misses the opportunity because, there have been some references during the course of this campaign to the fact that 60 years ago, Fannie Lou Hamer, appeared at the Democratic convention, and you can't find a more authentic person than that. You can't find anybody who was more pure and honest and principled, and who was there solely for the purpose of fighting for justice for the people that she represented. And she held that convention transfixed. They were mesmerized. They did not know what to do with this person. She was so powerful. The networks were so disturbed. The president was so disturbed by the fact that she was commanding such attention that the pressure was applied to take the cameras off of her. They'd never seen anything this explosive. Mm-hmm. Harris and everybody else has the potential to be that person if they would dare to do it. And I honestly believe that the fear of doing it very often comes from placing faith in the ways of the world over faith in the most powerful person in the universe. If God is on your side, if you're friends with him and you're committed to doing what he does, then you fear nothing. You're not making calculations based on anything but what is it that I can say or do that's going to please him. And if you invest in that, then you can win anything that you set your mind to.
Daryl Jones, last 90 seconds belong to you.
Well, Santita, I think that in this situation, and I largely agree with many of the things that Mark has laid out. However, at the end of the day, she's a politician, and she's running for elected office. And there's certain realities and strategies that elected officials understand and recognize and deal with. And she's in a very peculiar situation because she's obviously currently the vice president that's part of an administration that is walking. And so she doesn't want to do anything but show her loyalty to the president that has put her in the position now to be running for the presidency of the country. The whole Gaza question is one of the most divisive ones for many Americans. And so, is there a winning position to take? I think that, her not talking about whether or not she would stop U.S. funding for weapons going to Gaza and weapons going into Israel to go to Gaza, I think that's somewhat of an indicator of where she stands. I think that when you look at the fact that she did not want to meet and go to hear Prime Minister Netanyahu when he came to the United States to Congress, that's an indicator of where she stands. And I think that, when you start putting those pieces together, you know that she has differences with the administration on the issue. But I don't think because she's currently the vice president that she wants to step above, beyond, out of the shadow, out of the circle of what the current president has in place with regards to the U.S. policy. So, while it's great to say, be your person, stand on your own issues, push forward, I think she's doing it to the degree that she can, while still respecting the position and the trust that the people have put in her to serve as the vice president under President Biden. And what is not lost on me is the question of, is she concerned about AIPAC and any AIPAC influence if she says anything other than her support for the strength and the actions that Israel is taking. So all of that, I think, factors into that decision in dealing with Gaza, and why her handlers want her to be so careful going through that field and dealing with those questions. Again, she held serve. I don't think she did any harm. I think her campaign is fine. And, they're now in full prep mode for September 10th and the presidential debate, which everyone again are raising these expectations of what they want to see her do. I just want to see her be as effective as she can be, as I know she is as a litigator, with the litigation background and the information and the ability that she has as a debater, Santita.
Well, I think you've got to take all of the advice that you get with a grain of salt. Paul Tillich wrote the book, The Courage to Be. My father had me read it when I was in college, as I was really struggling and really coming into myself. And no one can beat you being you. Mm-hmm. There is a way to deal with Gaza. You want Israeli security and Palestinian justice are married to each other, like two sides of one coin. You need to talk to people who have been here, because this is not a new zip code for us. Some people have been here before, and you need to talk to them. Talk to Reverend Dr. Amos Brown. Reverend can get some words out. Talk to some people and all your people. And these are the advisors who your advisors don't want you to talk to. But you need to talk to them because they can help you. Help you become who you're really supposed to be. Because that's where she'll be the most strong. That's where she'll have the most strength. So praying for you, Kamala. Keep it moving, girl. And and move onward and upward. Be the best that you can be, that you're supposed to be. A C won't do it, a B won't do it. You gotta have A pluses in this space. That is we have to be at the top of the mountain. But once we get there, we're unstoppable. That's what I want for her. She didn't get to be the Attorney General of the state of California and the US Senator from that state. She makes history as a habit. She didn't do all of that being someone who is weak-kneed and someone who does not know what she's doing. She's tough, and I want the world to know it. Hey, everybody, I love you, sending you so much love. Have a wonderful holiday. Eat a whole lot and love even more. How about that? God bless you. See ya next week the rest of the week on the Santita Jackson Show. Love you.